Hello and welcome to another episode of Citadel Guard Adventures. This is Beriathan of the Citadel Guard of Gondor, and we're back in Sarkul Sulun, ready to begin the next portion of the Legacy of Durin storyline. But this one will not be Chapter 5, not yet. We will be starting an interlude actually. So as soon as you hit level 130, the game will send you a mail from Glóin directing you to this interlude. It's been a while since I hit level 130 myself, but let us pull up the mail and let's see what this is all about anyway. So it says, "My friend and ally, I wish I could write to you with tidings of victory, but the war continues in Elder's Late. Although the Gabil'akkâ has been fortunate enough to win a brief respite in the battle for Mount Gundabad, another matter has arisen and my heart is ill at ease. If I may speak so plainly, I have need of your counsel." So, we've seen what happened with the battle for Mount Gundabad, and the dwarves are at a stalemate right now while they find a way to break the ice wall from Rimil Frostguard. As you saw on that email, that one came with these letters, so let's open this one and let's see. Beriathan, despite their many triumphs, the War of Three Peaks has taken a great toll. To some among the Gabil'akkâ, victory seems no closer than it did when Prince Durin first swore his oath before the Amble of Winter's Teeth. Gorgar, son of Bolg, still eludes us. Wittingly or not, that accursed cold dragon, Rimil Frostguard, allowed him to escape his doom. It is little comfort that there is no love lost between the two of them, for their hatred of dwarves might prove enough to set aside their enmities, at least for the moment. All is not lost, and I stand by my words, but it is difficult for the dwarves of the Gabil'akkâ to see the battle on the threshold of Gundabad as anything but a costly setback, and, to the mind of Prince Durin, an unforgivable defeat. Although he has not said it aloud or so plainly, Prince Durin has set his thoughts upon vengeance. In truth, he contemplates a great offensive to breach the gates and reclaim Mount Gundabad at all cost. I will not overstep the bounds of my station, but I am an old enough dwarf to know that the hunt for vengeance might prove just as deadly as any weapon our foes might wield against us. Prince Durin knows well the worth of your counsel, and I believe that together you and I might convince him to weigh the wisest course of this war's end. And so, I humbly request that you return to Annâk-khurfu. Let us speak soon, my friend. Glóin." We gotta go back to Annâk-khurfu for this one. Not entirely sure why you need to pick this quest from here, from Annâk-khurfu instead of Sarkul Sulun. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that that way players can do the interlude without completing the previous chapters of the Legacy of Durin. I'm not sure if that's the case, but it's the only explanation I can find for it. Because otherwise, coming back to Annâk-khurfu seems a little bit unintuitive. But anyway, here we go.
"I suppose in times of war nothing is certain, so I am thankful you received my letter. Though I have tried to convince him otherwise, Prince Durin blames himself for the setback at the gates of Mount Gundabad.
Yeah, it is recommended but not required that you complete the Legacy of Durin and the Trials of the Dwarves chapters 1 to 4 before playing Blood of Azog. So yes, this interlude can be done without the previous chapters, and that's why you gotta pick it at Annâk-khurfu, because not all players will have access to Sarkul Sulun. Anyway, let us continue. "It is good to see you again, Beriathan. This is not the manner of reunion I would have preferred, but I am afraid it could not be helped. Though I have tried to convince him otherwise, Prince Durin blames himself for the setback at the gates of Mount Gundabad. He considers it a defeat, a failure, and perhaps most of all, a rebuke to his worthiness of the name Durin. Even though that is not so, I fear he believes that vengeance might be his only path to redemption in the eyes of the Longbeards. Prince Durin has heard many tales of the deeds of his grandfather, but neither he nor even King Thorin know them as I do. In my youth, I learned the cost of vengeance firsthand. I was at Azanulbizar. I know well the price that was paid to see Azog's head set upon a pike. It is true that Gorgar and Rimil await us beyond the gates of Mount Gundabad, but within the mountain home, the advantage belongs to them. If we are to win this war and reclaim the sacred mountain, our soldiers must be given the time to tend their wounds and prepare for the battles ahead. Let us help Prince Durin to lead the Gabil'akkâ to victory, my friend. That is all I ask.
I believe Prince Durin intends to send word to Nain at Zarku-Sulûn. But it so happens that there are dwarves of the Kharum-ubnâr in his garrison.
Before this war began, King Thorin sent 3 elder warriors to aid his son: Agnar Brokentooth, Lági Helmbiter, and Reithvald Red-ember. They are dwarves of the Kharum-ubnâr, the brethren of survivors. It is an order little known outside the line of Durin's folk, but its members hold a place of high esteem in the eyes of King Thorin, and more importantly, those of his brother, Nain. I would wager there is little that might temper his fervor for battle as much as the word of one of the Kharum-ubnâr, let alone 3 of them. I believe Prince Durin intends to send word to Zarku-Sulûn that his uncle might be apprised of the plan to reclaim Mount Gundabad. It so happens that Agnar, Lági, and Reithvald are among his garrison. Need I explain myself further, Beriathan? This must be done delicately, that the prince is not undermined in the eyes of the Gabil'akkâ. You are a trusted friend, Beriathan, and I am certain the prince would send you on his errand should you ask.
I saw you speaking with Glóin. All is well, I hope.
Ah, Beriathan, it is good to see you here once again, my friend. For my part, I have not sat idle since the battle at the gates of Mount Gundabad. After the death of Ranulur, Gorgar fled in fear from the Gabil'akkâ. And yes, I am quite aware that Grimil Frostguard may have influenced his actions, but it was a victory nonetheless. After so much hardship, a mere wall of ice cannot keep me from my prize. I saw you speaking with Glóin. All is well, I hope? You tell Durin that Glóin told you of a new plan to reclaim the mountain home, and you request that you might be the one to bring the word of it to Nain. Indeed, it is my belief that we should breach the ice on the morrow and hand down for Gorgar within the halls of Gundabad. Dwarves are harder than orcs after all, and if we grant our enemies too much rest, all of our efforts in this war would be for naught. We are so near to victory, my friend, we mustn't let that now. As for your request, it is granted. Deliver word of my plans to Nain and see if he finds it to his liking. Back to Zarku-Sulûn, it seems. Although the din of war can be heard in the distance, Zarku-Sulûn is quiet.
It is a sound plan to my ear, but it was not on a mere whim that my brother sent 3 of the Kharum-ubnâr to aid the prince. Let us hear what they have to say.
Offers my nephew at Annâk-khurfu, Beriathan. You exchange welcomes with Nain and tell him of Prince Durin's plans to reclaim Gundabad. After a moment, you ask Nain what the Kharum-ubnâr in his garrison might make of it. It is a sound plan to my ear, but my eagerness for battle is well known. I would not even wait for the morrow were I a younger dwarf. Nain pauses. It may be that Thorin is not as well suited to battle as I am, but he is keen in judgment. It was not by a mere whim that my brother sent 3 of the Kharum-ubnâr to aid the prince. Beyond those 3 warriors, none of the Longbeards in the Gabil'akkâ, even old Glóin, have seen so much of battle and its costs. I will honor your request if you would honor one of my own. I have seen Gorgar's ilk, all manner of evil beasts, and even some of those wicked men of Angmar drawing near to Zarku-Sulûn since the battle at the gates, and I would not have them doubt or meddle. Slay them to the last. Let us see how the Kharum-ubnâr judge Durin's plan, Beriathan. Alright, so I thought we will be going to our new destination sooner, but well, I guess yeah, the game needs to give the context to some of these decisions. Okay, one of the dwarves was actually inside Zarku-Sulûn, my bad. It's just that I don't see him. But it seems he was inside. Ah, yeah. Atop the stairs. Here we have Lági. Okay.
If Prince Durin would hear my advice, it is that our soldiers need rest, and the time to heal for the coming battles.
It is good to see you, Beriathan. But what has brought you here? You present Prince Durin's plan to reclaim Mount Gundabad to Lági and ask his thoughts on it. Although he has led the Gabil'akkâ admirably through this war, I have many misgivings in regard to the prince's plan. Just look at the soldiers here in Zarku-Sulûn. They are tired. We spent the lives of many dwarves to win the gates of Mount Gundabad, but for those who survived, it is now a matter of will, and not all of the dwarves in the Gabil'akkâ can bear such a burden. Hardship is to be expected in war, but many of these soldiers do not know it as I do. In my youth, we spent 6 years of bitter war fighting our enemies, but even in the height of his fury, King Thorin knew the value of respite from battle. Many look back at that war as a single great battle at Azanulbizar, but had we fought those years without rest, we would never have made it to the gates of Khazad-dûm. If Prince Durin would hear my advice, it is that our soldiers need rest and the time to heal for the coming battles. We have been fortunate thus far in the War of Three Peaks, but winning a battle does not win a war. Okay. The first piece of advice is here. Now, as I told you before, I struggle a lot with the Khuz'dûl names, so I have no idea how to pronounce this. And even the NPCs pronounce it differently. Is it Kharum-ubnâr, Kharum-ubnâr? I don't know. I have no idea. I think the A needs to be elongated a little bit, so it would be Ubnâr. But, oh my god, it's just the language of the dwarves is so difficult.
I am as eager as Prince Durin to return to Gundamad, but it is a difficult prize to grasp, and I should know.
What does Lord 9 ask of me? You tell Agnar about Prince Durin's plan to reclaim Mount Gundabad and ask what he thinks of it. We did what we could to hinder Golgar and his army of orcs on the field, but these old bones are not as strong as they were when I was a younger dwarf. I am as eager as Prince Durin to return to Gundabad, but it is a difficult prize to grasp, and I should know. After all, I was there when Khamak, son of Azog, fell broken in its halls, and I remember how it fell just as quickly back into the hands of the orcs after the war. Do not misunderstand me, Beriathan. I think much better of our chances this time, but I would not press the attack until we are better prepared for what awaits us within. We need to talk to Reithvald. I mean, he is really close by, but we also need to fight some enemies. You okay there, big guy? Okay, you are not feeling well. You are clearly not feeling well, so what do you say we leave this for another time, huh? That should be enough. A two-headed troll? Yeah, why not?
I have seen enough of battle to know the signs of fatigue, even if these dwarves are too proud to admit it.
Lord 9 has sent you? I have much to report, Beriathan, some for good and some for ill. Of the good, our defenses have held against the orcs and their numbers have dwindled since our encounter at the gates of Mount Gundabad. Those few that make their way to our line are unorganized and easy prey for the Shellrukka. In the past several days, I am proud to report that we have not lost a single dwarf. But off the bat, it should come as little surprise. We are still engaged in the war, my friend. There is no time to simply take shelter and rest while Golgar hides within the mountain home. After all, there are other ways out of that mountain and the orcs must know all of them. You interject to us Reithvald about Prince Durin's plan to reclaim Gundabad. That is not so simple a matter. My soldiers are in need of rest. I have seen enough of battle to know the signs of fatigue, even if they are too proud to admit it. Durin holds some of his army in reserve at Annâk-khurfu, and I would urge him to send as many soldiers as he can spare to relieve us. Even if only for a short time, it would be of great help to us for the coming battles. Okay, so there we go. Now we gotta find a way to the other side of the trenches, maybe? Somewhere where we can find a good number of enemies. Because fighting them in small groups, like we've been doing, that takes a long time. Yeah, something like this. Can grab this guy for good measure. That's a little bit better, yes. Okay. Circle Saloon. Yeah, let us use a milestone. Why not?
I find myself in agreement with the Kharum-ubnâr. But a dwarf of my reputation could hardly say as much aloud. I would be called Nain the Slaked.
So you've returned, Beriathan. What did they have to say of Prince Durin's plans? You informed Nain of what Agnar, Lági and Reithvald told you. I should have expected such wisdom from the dwarves of the Kharum-ubnâr. In truth, I find myself in agreement with them, but a dwarf of my reputation could hardly deliver such news to Durin. I would be called Nain the Slaked, and that is not title for the Lord of the Iron Hills. Were it my army, I would muster more forces to Elderslate and call upon distant cousins and allies, but that would be a matter to bring before my brother Thorin. For once, I am pleased such a decision is not left to me. You must return to Annâk-khurfu on my behalf, Beriathan. Let this be my guidance to the prince. Seek the wisdom of your father and stay your hand for the moment that it might soon swing with renewed strength. Let's see how Durin takes that advice. I imagine he might have some reservations against it, but we'll see.
I must admit, my friend, that is not the response I expected from my uncle.
Beriathan, what did Nain have to say of my plan? You delivered Nain's guidance to Prince Durin. The prince's face becomes stern, betraying the faintest hint of embarrassment. I must admit, my friend, that is not the response I expected, but if Uncle Nain believes I should send word to my father that the Gabil'akkâ might be the better for it, I have no reason to doubt his judgment. After all, it was not so long ago that I spent my days at the Quenching Throw in Yarnfast, spared the battle before the Lonely Mountain by the will of my father. But when it is my uncle who urges restraint, only a fool would ignore his counsel. Perhaps I was too swift to dismiss Glóin's concerns. I shall have to apologize to him for my imprudence, if I might. It seems I have much still to learn, despite my station.
If Uncle Nain believes the Gabil'akkâ would be helped by again swelling its numbers, I see no reason to argue with him.
I must admit, I had not expected to send another messenger to the Lonely Mountain until this war was ended. I had hoped to send tidings of victory to my father, that I might finally prove myself a dwarf worthy of the name Durin. Perhaps it was folly to entertain such stubbornness. If my uncle believes the Gabil'akkâ would be held by again swelling its numbers, I see no reason to argue with him. Durin looks across the upper hall of Annâk-khurfu. I will need some time to draft a missive to my father, but I have had an idea. Many of the Longbeards here at Annâk-khurfu have written letters and prepared parcels to be delivered to their king at the Lonely Mountain. Unfortunately, a great deal of them have gone unsent in recent days. It would please me to correct this oversight at the same time. I will set to writing my father at once, after you have gathered all of the letters and parcels. Return to me. Oh, okay. Okay. I see them now. Lots of them. Okay. I have another one. Where else do we go? But I don't see the parcels. Are they on the lower level, maybe? Let's see. I think they should be. Ah, no! No, here they are. My bad. Yeah, I was wondering because Prince Durin said all of this was on the second level of Annâk-khurfu, but the parcels were a little hard to spot. But I don't see any more parcels. Do we need to go down? I mean, the lowest level of Annâk-khurfu is very small, but yeah. Here we have them. Okay, I see another one there. Ah, there's some milestone inside Annâk-khurfu I hadn't realized. Okay, we're just missing one, and I don't see it. Okay. Oh, okay. By the workbench. My bad. Okay, we can go back to Durin now.
I have written my father a formal request for a new muster. When the time comes to reclaim Gundabad, we will have need for dwarves of every vocation.
Very good. I have written my father a formal request for a new master to Elderslate, one that comprises all of our trusted allies, even those unskilled in combat. When the time comes to reclaim Gundabad, we will have need for dwarves of every vocation. I have also made special note that I will not begin the assault on Mount Gundabad until the time of your return. If my father wishes to offer any guidance, I would prefer to hear it before the battle is upon us. Durin seals the missive he has written to his father and hands it to you. By entrusting you with this missive, I am entrusting you with the success of the Gabil'akkâ, my friend. Be swift and let nothing turn you from your path to the Lonely Mountain. Alright, back to the Lonely Mountain once again. Thank God we have our master, our journey from the Allegiance. And yes, Garlic, we are traveling, going away from the battle, but we are not running away. We will be back. Once again, every time I am sent back to the hole under the mountain, I am amazed once again by how majestic it is. Just take a look at this. I mean, having to physically walk through the bottom of the hole to King Thorin's throne always reminds you of the power and the greatness of dwarves. It's a really imposing view, to say the least.
Welcome, my adventurous friend. What news do you bring of Durin? How fares his campaign?
Welcome, Beriathan. It has been some time since Glóin's message Raven arrived, bearing a warning that the line of Azog remains unbroken in Gundabad. What news do you bring of my son? How fares his campaign? You inform King Thorin of the events that have transpired since he sent the remnants of the Iron Garrison to Annâk-khurfu. You tell the tale of the battle on the threshold of Gundabad, of Gorgar's near defeat, and of the sudden danger of Hrimil Frostcar returned from the Anvil of Winter's Teeth. You also tell King Thorin of Durin's desire to press the attack, and how he was persuaded against it, at least for the moment, but Nine and the dwarves of the Kharum-ubnâr. I fear you had come bearing ill tidings, my friend. So long as my son is well, it puts my heart at ease. Thorin glances at the mass of letters and parcels you have brought to Erebor. I appreciate that you answered me as swiftly as you did, but please, set all of that down. My subjects will see that they are delivered to the proper dwarves here in the Lonely Mountain. As for his missive, let us see what he has written. With great relief, you set everything on the landing before King Thorin's throne. It would be really great if there was a physical object in there, but well. Let's continue.
Tell me, how did my son come to change his mind, truly?
A moment, my friend. King Thorin reads the missive from Durin. I see. Tell me, Beriathan, how did my son come to change his mind, truly? You tell King Thorin of Glóin's concern and of his suggestion to speak to the dwarves of the Kharum-ubnâr among the Gabil'akkâ. It was for that reason I sent them, and I am heartened that Glóin warned him against plans born of vengeance. I only wish my son had heeded his words. Durin leads the greatest Longbeard army we have brought to bear in 70 years, but he is still young and in truth, untested. Yes, he has found victory at many stops along his journey from the Iron Hills, but it is hardship that shapes a dwarf. Durin was fortunate to know my father dying in his time. He too was young when he answered the call of war, and I often wonder what he would think of how swiftly Durin has grown into his name. King Thorin's mind turns to thoughts of Dain and Durin. Awesome.
What can be said of my father Dain that has not been etched into the very history of Durin's folk?
As he reminisces about Dain, Thorin's voice softens. What can be said of my father Dain that has not been etched into the very history of Durin's folk? He was but a stripling when he slew the great orc Azog at Azanulbizar. It was he who answered the call of Thorin Oakenshield and defended the Lonely Mountain against Bolg and the Goblins of the North, and in so doing, ushered in a time of peace between men, elves, and dwarves. And again, when the enemy sent his servants to the gates of the Lonely Mountain, he died in defense of his people, a hero to his last breath. But despite all of his great deeds, I knew him as my father, I was his son, and Durin his beloved grandson. I must confess that I often saw more of Dain in Durin than I did in myself, but what greater dwarf could one aspire to be? As his thoughts turn to Durin, Thorin's voice swells. I have always been the more cautious of Dain's sons, and it has served me well, but for too long I believe it would suit Durin in much the same manner. It was not so long ago that I sequestered Durin in the Iron Hills while battle raged in the Dalelands, but now my son leads an army to reclaim the mountain home. I dared not dream that Gundabad might be within reach, especially after the failure of the Iron Garrison, and yet my son has proven its possibility both to me and to all of Durin's folk. Durin is not as hot-tempered as my brother, nor is he as measured as his father. He is himself, and that is enough. Durin will err, as any dwarf will in his time, but I did not name him Durin that he would earn the name his life. The name will earn him through his deeds.
Durin has requested that I send a new mustard to the mountain home, but so too does he ask for my guidance. That has given me much to consider.
It is true that many dwarves of the Iron Garrison pledged themselves into the service of my son, and more still journeyed from our holdings in the Misty Mountains to aid the Gabil'akkâ. Even so, there are many Longbeards and trustworthy dwarves of the Landorim and Narfangoth that might still be called upon. Durin has requested that I send a new master to the mountain home. It will be done. Thorin pauses for a moment and strokes his beard. But so too does my son ask for my guidance, and that has given me much to consider.
My son asks my guidance in winning a war.
Thorin chuckles to himself. I may not be a warrior in the manner of my father Beriathan, but I know well enough that those of Kharum-ubnâr learned such lessons long ago. After all, it was Dain who organized the Kharum-ubnâr after the war's end. It was to be comprised of those who survived the Sixth War and those descended from Marazran, the burnt dwarves of Azanulbizar. Agnar, Lági and Reithvald are not the only dwarves of that order who still dwell within the Lonely Mountain, my friend. Perhaps their wisdom might be of use to my son. Thorin thinks for a moment, stroking his beard. After a moment, he produces a small scrap of paper and writes upon it a short message. Within the dwelling halls of Tumnudum, there is an order hall of the Kharum-ubnâr. It is known among Durin's folk as Akras-Sahar, and there you might find a dwarf named Hersegg. She is barely beyond the age of a stripling, but she is the granddaughter of one of the greatest heroes of Azanulbizar, and more importantly, one of the dearest friends of my father Dain. I have written her a note asking that she might introduce you to the works of her grandfather, Hermáth Stormhammer. She too is well studied in the lore of Durin's folk, possessing wisdom beyond her years. Deliver this missive to her, and she will understand what I ask. Alright, so back to the dwelling halls, and now we go to Akras-Sahar. I hope that's the correct way of pronouncing it. We'll see. Now, in the meantime, what do we have here? We have some task items, not a lot. But I could use all of those. Yeah, leaving the hole under the mountain is not as impressive as coming in, I gotta say. But as far as I remember, this one should be the last or the second to last time we come to the hole under the mountain as part of the Legacy of Durin storyline, and as of the time of recording this, we still don't know what will come next. There hasn't been any update that will continue the storyline after the end of the Legacy of Durin, so I have no idea if we'll be coming back to the hole under the mountain at some point. I doubt it. The devs have said that they have done enough Dwarven storylines for the time being, and they don't plan on doing any more Dwarven themed storylines in the near future, so I don't think we'll be coming back here anytime soon after we leave it. You have arrived at Akras-Sahar. And take a look at what we have here. As you enter Akras-Sahar, a familiar dwarf greets you.
I heard you followed Prince Durin in his quest. Was that not so?
Beriathan, what brings you back to the Lonely Mountain? I heard you followed Prince Durin in his quest. Was that not so? You explained to Frithgeir that you have returned at Durin's request to seek the aid of King Thorin. I see. Well, do not let me keep you, my friend. For my part, I was just about to take Nár home. It has been a long day, and although he was more himself this morning, his mind has wandered. Perhaps Nár might wish you well in your quest, but I can make no promise. Nár? Nár glances around Akras-Sahar, seemingly unaware of your presence. Nár shuffles for a moment, but his gaze soon fixes upon you. Ah, hello! You look an awful lot like a man I met long ago at Sudrugund. I do hope they are well. But we must be going, yes? I do hope Herbin makes his stew tonight. Yeah, I don't think we could have expected something more.
Wherever Prince Durin's quest might lead you, hope you take care of yourself, my friend.
Thank you, Beriathan. It means a great deal to me, and I know it does Nár good to see his friends. Wherever Prince Durin's quest might lead you, I hope you take care of yourself, my friend. Perhaps we will see you when next you return to the Lonely Mountain. After a moment, Frithgeir and Nár depart Akras-Sahar. Well, I'm glad I was able to snap a picture of them before they left. Across the dimly lit hall of Akras-Sahar, you spot a young dwarf matching King Thorin's description.
A missive from King Thorin? I do hope this isn't about the cave claws again. Last time was an accident, I swear it.
What business have you with the Kharum-ubnâr? Hersegg appears to tighten her grip on a weapon beneath your view. You swiftly explain that you have been sent by King Thorin to deliver a missive to Hersegg. A missive from King Thorin? I do hope this isn't about the cave claws again. Last time was an accident, I swear it. I need to know that story. I really need to know what this is all about.
Let me see what all this is about.
Hersegg looks over the missive from King Thorin. Her bushy eyebrows raise and lower a few times until finally she lets out what seems to be a sigh of relief. Well, that wasn't what I expected. I must apologize for my curt introduction, Beriathan. I am Hersegg, and I intend to cross the Har on behalf of the Kharum-ubnâr. As for the missive, it seems King Thorin wishes for me to introduce you to the works of my grandfather, Hermáth Stormhammer. He kept a detailed account of his experience in the Sixth War of the Dwarves and Orcs, especially the Battle of Azanulbizar. In fact, a collection of his volumes are right over there. Although I am sure Prince Durin has heard tales of that war before, the king insists your study of it will be of use to his son and the Gabil'akkâ. But it is no use starting the battle without learning the beginning of the tale, I say. King Thorin has given me a task of my own, but since I have a little time, I'd be honored to read it to you. So what do you say?
So you wish to hear the tale of Nár?
I must warn you, Beriathan, it is quite grim, even for a retelling. But first... Hersegg glances around across the Har, making careful note of the dwarf still present. Good. It seems Fridgeir has taken him home. Nár is an old dwarf, and though it is no fault of his own, he is often forgetful and confused in his mind. It is as if the stones of a great mosaic were scattered upon the floor. All of the pieces remain in some form or another, but what it once depicted is lost. Even so, neither I nor anyone else in this hall would tell the tale in his presence. Hersegg lifts a small volume from her hip and flips through the pages, stopping at one page in particular. Let us begin.
When you are ready, I will begin.
Are you ready to hear the tale of Nár, Beriathan?
Although he has at last found comfort amongst Durin's folk at the Lonely Mountain, the dwarf Nár has been witness to much hardship and tragedy throughout his long life. Long after the realm of Grark had fallen to the cold Reithvald, and 20 years after the Lonely Mountain fell to Smaug, King Thrór and his folk came to dwell in a pool near the wilds of Gunland.
From the old stronghold of Sudrugund, Thrór ruled what remained of the two kingdoms he had fled in his life. His son was Thrain, a formidable warrior. His grandsons, Thorin and Frerin, and granddaughter Dis, were yet young. His people were few, poor and hungry, and they knew little joy since the loss of their homes in the north. Dotage and gloom took their toll on King Thrór, and the thought long of regaining the splendor of his father's halls. But it was not in the halls of Erebor where Smaug now slumbered upon the heirlooms of his people, nor the frozen wastes in the north that called to him. It was Khazad-dûm itself. It had been more than 800 years since doom befell it, since the elves named it Moria, but it mattered not. Thrór determined that he would reclaim it, and in so doing restore the glory of his kingdom and of Durin's folk. What true reason had he? None know for certain. Perhaps he had gone mad, or perhaps not.
Yet, in his heart, Thrór desired one last quest, though he would not say where he meant to go.
But whatever the case, he summoned Thrain and gave to him what heirlooms of their house remained, chief among them his ring, last of the 7 that had been given to the dwarf kings. He said to Thrain, "Riches may yet spring anew from this bauble, my son, or perhaps not. Yet one cannot read gold without gold." When Thrain asked if his intent was to return to Erebor, Thrór remained silent. After a long moment, he said, "These bones are too old. I will not be avenged on Smaug. That fate, perchance, shall be yours, or your sons. I have known too much of loss and of men's derision. I go to seek better fortunes, if they may yet be found." He did not say where he meant to go, and Thrain did not ask, but merely wished him fortune in his quest.
All in Sudrugund bade farewell to Thrór, though they knew naught of his quest. Yet to the surprise of his kin, Thrór did not set off on his journey alone. With him, he took a single companion, Nár, his friend and esquire of old. And that is where our tale begins. Together, Thrór and Nár went north.
Let me take a look at those dwarves.
In old Eregion, Thrór insisted against the west gate, and the two continued northward. After a time, they crossed the Red Horn Pass and descended into Azanulbizar. In the dwarves' absence, it had become an unfamiliar and unfriendly land. The dale had long fallen silent, and what remained of the Great Way was choked with undergrowth. Yet there, none again was in question, in Thrór's prize, the lost kingdom of Khazad-dûm.
Over here, Garlic. Just wanna take a couple pictures, you know.
Before them, the east gate yawned open, as if to beckon the two of them forth. But the journey had been long.
Although both Thrór and Nár saw many signs of orcs in the dale, they were old and overtrodden. Outside Khazad-dûm, all was still and silent. Before them, the east gate yawned open, as if to beckon the two of them forth. But the journey had been long, and Nár thought better of seeking shelter within Moria.
In need of respite, Nár urged Thrór to take rest. Although Thrór had set his mind on entering Khazad-dûm, he relented. And so, Nár toiled to set a small encampment at Azanulbizar.
We have their encampment. Nár and Thrór. It's really difficult to get a good picture of them because the space is so narrow. But well, we do what we can.
Nár built a fire and prepared what meager meal he could. But when the supper was ended, Thrór stood at once.
Hidden beneath the eaves of trees and stones at the foot of Ziraxigil, Nár built a fire and prepared what meager meal he could that might befit a king and one road-weary traveler. When the supper was ended, Thrór stood at once. As if in answer, Nár knelt before the old king and helped him to fasten a shield to his arm.
It is time, Nár. I have lived long enough in exile. You have proven your loyalty, my friend, and I ask only that you await my return. Do not fear, dear Nár. I go to honor our forefathers.
Take heed, my friend. An ill wind blows in this vale.
But Thrór cared not. Axe in hand, he went in, as proud as any dwarf ever crossed the doorstep of Khazad-dûm. For many days, Nár hid among the trees outside the gates, lonely and troubled.
Thrór had bidden Nár to stay and await his return, but it was not merely the word of his king that kept him from daring to enter Moria. In truth, and to his shame, Nár was afraid. For many days, Nár hid among the trees outside the gates, lonely and traveled. When he dared to draw nearer to the gate and peer into the gloom, neither a sound nor the faintest flicker of light emerged from within. More troublingly still, neither had Thrór.
And so, Nár waited. And waited. And waited.
Right.
And waited until he thought he could bear it no longer.
Despite every doubt, though, his resolve did not falter. Even if he were fated to live the rest of his days huddled beside a fire at Azanulbizar, Nár would not disobey his king. It was his duty to await Thrór's return.
As another day of waiting drew to an end, Nár slipped into dreams.
Oh.
In his mind, Nár beheld Thrór standing triumphantly before the east gate. Behind him, a chorus of hammers and song echoed from the halls of Khazad-dûm. Such a joyous end to the quest Nár could have hardly imagined. But it would not be so. When Nár awoke, his clothing was cold and heavy with rain.
Nár's rest had ended abruptly, and in a daze he tried to regain his bearings. Above him the sky loomed dark, its hue a sickly purple, and he could not tell if it was day or night. Aside from the sound of trickling rainfall, all was still and silent. Alas, Nár would have little time to ponder his situation.
Breaking the silence, a distant voice shouted in the Orcish tongue. A horn blared, harsh and ugly, out of Moria. And from the east gate came a sickening thud, echoing through Azanulbizar. Fear for Thrór seized Nár's heart, yet loyal as ever and heedless of all peril, Nár drew his sword. Abandoning his hiding spot, he rushed up the steps to the east gate.
Give me just a moment, Hersegg. I mean, we already know what this is about. And in case you don't, I'm sorry. But yeah, I just want to take a couple pictures of this. And poor Nár as well.
Nár had known the truth at once, but wished not to believe it. It was Thrór.
As Nár crept closer, there came a chittering laughter from beyond the darkness of the east gate.
And then, out of the darkest shadows of Moria, came a voice.
We know you're there, Bidley. We've been watching you. But never fear. You'll take your head today. No, you'll make a fine messenger yet. Well, come on then. You see what we do to beggars and vagabonds who barge through these doors. He got what he had coming. The old thief trying to filch what's ours. You're not bringing your reeking whiskers around these parts again. And this is what you'll get. You tell them that. Tell them. And when his family asks who killed him and who's king here, that will be your answer. Go on, have a look. It's right there on his face. There I wrote it. You can read, can't you?
Oh, we gotta do it ourselves. Man, that's sick.
Nár knelt to inspect Thrór's head, and upon it was carved Azog.
Leave it be, Beggarbeard. That's mine now. Yeah, some coin for your troubles. It's the least we can do, eh, boys? Now, off with you.
Nár fled weeping from Khazad-dûm. For many months, Nár wandered in the wilderness, racked with sorrow. The sight of his king's defilement branded in his heart.
At first, Nár again made for the Red-horned Pass, but orcs beyond counting had gathered there and watched him with their red eyes. And so Nár fled back the way he had come. As he passed by the gates of Khazad-dûm again, more great orcs, including some larger than any he had heard of before, had surrounded Thrór's corpse and were hacking it to pieces. Into that hateful frenzy, a great mass of crows descended, and to them the orcs began to fling the scraps of the dwarf king. Nár dared not look again. Tear-blind, Nár ran on along the banks of Khaled's-aram, fleeing the orcs and wolves that now haunted him in cruel sport. When at last he came to the ruins of Amdam, he found them barred, and black arrows hounded his every step. Desperate to escape his own doom, however, Nár thought of Gabil'akkâ and leapt down the path alongside the stream. By some stroke of fortune, Nár had won his escape, but behind him the laughter of Azog and the orcs rang in his ears. For many months, Nár wandered in the wilderness, racked with sorrow, the sight of his king's defilement branded in his heart. At long last, he found his way north through the high pass across the misty mountains, then made his way back to Thrór's Comb. By the time he entered Suðurgund, the guards scarcely recognized him, so haggard and wild he had grown. And that is all there is to tell of the Doom of Thrór, Beriathan.
As for Nár, there is far more to be said of his tale.
But I should tell it as briefly as I might. Nár was brought to Thráin in Suðurgund and there told his tale and spoke the name of Azog, which all Longbeards have held with hatred ever since. All Thrór's court wept at the tidings and tore their beards, then looked to Thráin, who sat down heavily upon his father's throne and was silent. Breaking the silence, Thorin said, "You are king now, father. What is your will? How shall we answer this outrage?" All around the court, hands went to sword hilt and axe handle and brows lowered darkly. But still Thráin sat quiet and did not move. 7 days he remained thus, still as a stone, saying no word. Then, as a storm long gathering that breaks upon the mountainside, he arose, eyes ablaze, and cried, "This cannot be borne!" From Thráin's yearning for vengeance arose the sixth war of dwarves and orcs, called simply the War of the Dwarves and Orcs in our memory. But that is another tale.
Let us hope that Nár has found some measure of happiness again, even at so old an age. It is the very least he deserves.
Alright, so after this, Hersegg will begin the tale of the sixth war of dwarves and orcs and the battle of Azanulbizar, but we have run out of time for today, and before we end, I just wanted to say I think the devs did a great job with Nár and Nár's tale. I think I mentioned with you, I mentioned to you when we first met Nár in Enedwaith that at first I hadn't read the appendices, so I thought Nár was one of the creations from the devs. So I was very surprised when I found out who he really was and how they were using him to tell the story of Volume 3. So I was also really excited when they brought back Nár for this, and we finally got to see his tale and how he came to be the dwarf that he is now. And seeing all the suffering he went through, can you blame him for his madness, for as a sort of coping mechanism, the delirium he is in, that he only remembers part of things that happened, but it's such a tragic tale, and I think the devs did a great job at showing us the tale because it's brutal. And now we'll get to see how the tale continues, but once again, for the time being, that is all we have time for today. So thank you once again for watching today's episode of Citadel Guard Adventures. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you on the next one. Until then, my friends, stay safe, take care, good luck to you all, and I will see you later.